when the Ultimate books were selling more than the Marvel Universe books, keep them separate. Once the Ultimate books had dropped below the Marvel Universe books, and they had tried multiple different refreshes and restarts, and it was diminishing returns, they were like, all right, let's fold what we can into the regular Marvel Universe.
In the Midwest, you know the best is there waiting, so come and join the conversation. Eyes to approved, fan and artist and creator too. This is how the challengers do. What? Keep the conversation moving along. Keep reading comics, keep your local store strong. It gets hard, then it's a job for the challengers. What? Comics and conversation, y'all.
From Challengers Comics and Conversation in Chicago, this is Contest of Challengers, a comics industry business podcast with
Patrick Brower.
Patrick Brower.
Patrick Brower.
Patrick Brower.
Patrick Brower.
Patrick Brower.
Patrick Brower and W. Dal Bush.
W. Dal Bush.
Dal Bush.
Del Bush.
Dow.
Del.
W. Dal Bush.
I think coil voltage is an excellent phrase, especially to maybe use as a title for this week's episode.
Oh, okay.
And I was going to ask you more about it, but you weren't mic'd up.
No. Also, I don't think an eBay listing is the place to find out what coil voltage really is.
Sure. But then we were back into, why were you looking up coil voltage?
Because you asked me to check and see what the recent Zdarsky Comic News #1 free giveaway pamphlet brochure, I can't remember, flyer, I think is what the other listing had it in the title, was selling for online. And one listing had it at $24.99 and free shipping. Another had it at $20.49 with $7.35 additional for shipping, marked down from $40.99. That said, I could not find any sold listings under regular search terms for what that thing would be. So it looks like the people who are trying to sell it online for, again, a free giveaway, 4-page, counting front cover and back cover, giveaway pamphlet promoting Chip Zdarsky comic books. Two different people are trying to sell it for over $24, which is insane.
Think of an 11 by 17 piece of paper, folded in half horizontally one time.
Yeah.
And that's what this is.
Yeah. Think of any comic book you've ever read. And if you
tore off the cover, what's left, just the cover, that's it. That's what's being given away. There's a front piece, a back piece, and then 2 interior pages. That's it. It's a giveaway thing. It's fun, but it's nothing anyone needs to have, and it's certainly nothing anyone should be paying any money for. That's ridiculous. It's very funny. It is a 4-page advertisement for Chip Zdarsky's new book from Distillery Time Waits.
Right. As well as his other work that he's been doing, stuff like Batman, Public Domain. So just Chip Zdarsky as a creator.
Yeah, but it's in the guise of a gossip magazine.
Or like a comic shop news.
Yeah.
It's sort of in that vein.
Yeah. And it's very, very funny. And Chip paid for it out of his own pocket and
sent it to us for free.
Yeah, sent it to retailers for free. And
it was a stealth thing. Like we had a line item on our Diamond invoice for this past week that was just like CZ something.
Yeah, CZN promo.
I don't think N was in it. I think it was just CZ something. And we're just like, all right, we don't know what this is. And that happens a lot with Diamond stuff. They don't tell us every promo thing we're getting. There's a line item so that they can know to pack it and we can know that we were supposed to get it. But what it is frequently is just like, oh, it's a pamphlet or a poster or like a brochure to give away for a local convention, whatever. Stuff that people pay Diamond to ship to retailers.
There's one of these comic collector apps that's got a CZ in it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like you fill out your collection and have it in this app.
Sure.
And I honestly thought it was going to be like promo for that. That's what I thought it was.
Instead it was this Chip Zdarsky thing, and it's super cute, and it's fun, and it's because this was unannounced, retailers could not pick the quantities they got, so retailers got, the stores that got them, I think, just got like maybe 20 at the most.
And what did Chip say he printed? 50,000?
I don't remember seeing that number, but yeah, that sounds probably right. So I assume a lot of Diamond accounts got them, and it was just Diamond. This wasn't shipped out from PRH or from Lunar. It was just Diamond, which is a little weird because I would feel like, wouldn't Lunar be the way to go? Because Lunar does your DC stuff, they do your Image stuff.
Yeah, but again, I feel like
they did Distillery when it was solicited.
The big push for this is his Distillery book.
I guess, but Distillery must have known in advance of this, like, hey, by the way, it's only coming out from Diamond.
So Chip Zdarsky is very funny, and
he's got a Substack newsletter,
Mhm.
which is also very, very funny,
Yes.
even at the free level.
Yeah, where he's just doing promotional stuff. The
Yeah.
paid level is where you start getting like pages from public domain in advance of the release of the issue.
But just the text he does, and it's great. It's hilarious. It's a treat to get it, like, what, twice a week, maybe?
Yeah, he does it. There's less of it, I think, now. Before, it used to be very in-depth and very detailed. And now there's frequently been ones where it's just like, here's what I got coming out this week. And it's like, that's fine. Because again, that section of it is free. Like,
But
you
it's
can't
still
complain
also,
about what you're
it's
getting.
also funny. But here's the thing. As funny as it is, do you, as someone who reads it regularly and enjoys it, think, I have to print this out and save it?
I definitely don't. And I definitely don't think I should take the newsletter that I get from Chip Zdarsky, print it out, and then try and sell it to somebody for $25.
Right.
I definitely wouldn't think to do that, because that sounds ludicrous. And this is what I said to you, I think, Wednesday, when this was already like hitting the news. It's like, people ruined it.
Yeah.
People just ruined it. That's it. It was fun, and you ruined it.
It's just a fun giveaway thing. And it's like, it's not meant to be saved. It's one piece of paper.
Yeah, I guess the easiest way to describe it is, it's nice when people want it. I hate when people need it.
Yeah, there you go.
Like, that's what makes it frustrating as a retailer, is when free giveaway stuff like this happens and people feel like this FOMO or whatever, where, like, if you stop in a shop and they have it, that's cool. But when you're, like, making sure you get it, like, you don't need it. You definitely don't need it. There's nothing in here that is going to change your life.
The
Like,
Marvel,
it's
DC,
fun, but it's
and
nothing.
IDW catalogs are full of way more information, and we don't have nearly as many people
No.
clamoring for that.
Yeah,
And look, I'm not trying to make anybody feel bad, but there comes a level of obsessiveness
yeah.
with a comic book collector where it's no longer a fun thing you do, but it's an
Right.
obsession. And it's like when we get promos for movies, there are people that shop with us
Mhm.
and work for us
Mhm.
who need to get all the free movie promo stuff, regardless of the movie and regardless of what the thing is.
Yeah, the ideal thing for us with something like the Zdarsky Comic News is basically not to give it to true Zdarsky fans, because the whole point of this is to put it in the hands of people who are like, oh, I didn't know these things were coming out.
Yeah.
Like, if you're a hardcore Chip Zdarsky obsessive who needs this, you were probably already getting Public Domain, Batman, you're signed up for Time Waits. Like, this is wasted on you, more or less.
Yeah.
I want it to go to the hands of people who are like, oh, this looks cool. Oh, this is funny. Now, because I think it's funny, I want to sign up for this guy's book. Like, that's it. That's the point of it.
But I'm also just trying to reach the people that feel like they needed to have it, to say, you don't need to have it, especially
Yeah.
if you already got, like, he sent it to everybody on his newsletter.
Yeah, if you signed up for his newsletter, I think at the paid level,
Yeah.
I think, he sent you the PDF. You can just read it. Yeah, it's always such a weird bummer. Like, the line between people being excited and I'm happy about it, and then people being excited and it's frustrating to me. Like, it's so quickly tips over from one to the other nowadays, where it's like, oh, this sucks now. Like, now it's a hassle.
When they started releasing the McDonald's Happy Meals toy for Captain America New World Order,
I think it's Brave New World now.
is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think they changed it from New World Order because they had a connotation, and they were like, oh, no, nope.
Like the NWO?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, with Sting's retirement impending at the time that they announced it, they
Yeah.
were like, we don't want to bring that up.
That's fair.
a dark time for
That's
his
fair.
career.
So as a huge Captain America fan, and these are little, like little stuffed plushy things,
Mhm.
and I thought, I don't need any of those. But then you bought me one.
I did.
I'm like, oh, that's cool. And the first one I got was Marvel's Ruth,
Uh-huh.
who's apparently
Who,
Sabra.
Who wouldn't you want?
Right. And then little by little, and to be clear, I bought none of them. You bought me, every time you went to McDonald's, you would buy a new
And I
one.
go to McDonald's for breakfast a lot. So like, I would usually just be like, can I get one of the Happy Meal toys? And it was always a little weird because like I would do my order on the app before I got there, but you can't order like a single Happy Meal toy, I don't think, on the app. So I would have to like get in line, get the Happy Meal toy, and then be like, and I also had an online order. Can I get that too?
And miraculously, you never got any doubles.
Well, because they would usually say like, "Here's who we've got," because I think they know that when people are ordering a single Happy Meal toy, they usually don't just want anything; they're looking for something specific.
Okay.
They're collectors. I'm sure they've dealt with those people plenty of times, so they'd usually have two different ones. Once upon a time, I feel like McDonald's Happy Meal toys would be like waves of things, where like each week there'd be a different one or whatever.
I feel like that's a thing. Yeah.
But this was a thing where I could go in on like subsequent days and they'd be like, well, here are the two we have. And it's like, okay, well, I got that one already, so I'll take the other.
Okay. I didn't realize it was that much legwork you had to do, so thanks.
It's not like I had to go to different McDonald's.
Sure. So you got me a bunch of them, not all of them, but a bunch. And then randomly for my birthday, my sister Susan had bought me one, and it was Red Wing, who I had not had.
Nice.
So I have a nifty little collection, not a full set.
No, because I don't think you got a Red Hulk.
I didn't get a Red Hulk, and there's a second Captain America I don't have.
Okay.
But also, I didn't need a full set.
No.
And all I did was put these all into the Happy Meal carton that you had gotten for the first one.
They actually put it in a box. Little Happy Meal Captain America carton.
So they're all waiting until February, then they can be opened and be played with while the movie's actually out.
Sure. Take one to the theater.
But even my obsessive Captain America, actually it's not obsessive because I pick and choose.
You have to.
Yeah.
Like I've said that before, that like there's things that I'm a fan of, but it's comic character stuff but the characters are so unpopular or niche that I don't have a lot of merchandise being offered to me. So I can be kind of comprehensive on like Power Pack stuff that comes out or Gwenpool stuff that comes out, because there's just not a lot. But if they do a Power Pack movie, I am going to have to be selective because they're going to release a lot of stuff. I'm going to have to say no to a lot of it.
During the pandemic, I had Dal custom made 4 different Power Pack face masks, one for each chest symbol of each of the Power Kids.
Yes.
And I think
none
they were
for Franklin Richards.
Right.
None for Tattertail.
Well, I said 4 of the Power. I said
Tattletale?
4 of the Power Kids. It's just
True. I just wanted to clarify for the audience.
Sure.
Like when they're like, but what about Franklin Richards? It's like, well,
what about Whitey? What about Whitey? Nothing for him.
Nothing for Whitey. Nothing for Friday the Ship.
I was gonna say Friday, and I'm like, no, that's not the name of the.
Nothing for when Alex Power at one point was like Power Packs with an X because he had all the powers and he was on New Warriors.
Anyway, I think the masks were too small and you never wore them.
I wore them for once or twice, but yeah, I mean, unfortunately, they were a little tight on the face.
I have noticed that in your Power Pack shrine, they're not up.
I don't know how I would display the masks.
Some text on a wall, it's hanging.
I guess I could. Yeah.
Command hooks.
You're right. I'll think about that.
Yeah. But that's because you would never be able to buy. Like I was able to find a ton of superhero masks that I would wear.
Sure.
But there were never any Power Pack ones.
I did buy during the pandemic. I bought some Kamen Rider masks from an Etsy store.
That's true. But yeah, I want people to be excited for the things that they want, but never to feel like they've missed out for a thing they didn't get.
Right.
Especially when it's not a product.
Yeah.
When it's a giveaway thing, you don't have to have it. For a while, I used a Don't Be Afraid. It's not Sam Raimi. Guillermo del Toro. Don't Be Afraid of the Dark toothbrush kit that was in fact a giveaway for a movie that he didn't. All he did was produce, and it was a whole little kit that had a reusable toothbrush, a little thing of toothpaste, some dental floss,
nice,
all in a little zipper kit. And so that was for a while, that was my store toothbrush kit at work. But I eventually had to upgrade it and bought a new one.
Sure.
So that's the thing. I don't know what this has to do with the movie. It's practical. I'll use it.
There's definitely promotional stuff for films and TV shows that we've gotten where it feels like someone just slapped a logo on whatever crap. It doesn't matter. Like anything that people would not just throw away. Didn't have to have anything to do with the movie or the TV show, but it's like, oh, this umbrella you're not going to throw away. So you'll be promoting Cloak and Dagger on Freeform long after Cloak and Dagger's done and long after Freeform is done.
Yeah, good point. But we each still have a Cloak and Dagger umbrella. Yeah. That we got for going to a premiere, which we didn't even know we were getting a thing, but I think it was also raining that night, so it helped out.
I'm going to tell my favorite story from that night. So we saw it at the Logan Theater, I think.
Yes.
It was where they were screening the first 2 episodes of the then upcoming Cloak and Dagger. And they had a little Q&A panel afterwards. But the Q&A panel wasn't anyone from the production of the show. It was like local nerd bloggers and vloggers.
Yeah.
So it was like them talking to like a representative from the production company or like a PR company about like Cloak and Dagger and what they thought of the premiere,
their cultural impact,
and like taking questions from the audience. And one of the early questions from the audience was this older woman who's like, "None of you worked on the show, right?" Like, no, yeah, we're just, we do pop culture blogging and stuff. She's like, "Then why are you up here? Why are we listening to you?" And it was like, wow, she said what everybody was thinking. And it was so awkward. And it was kind of mean, but it's also like, yeah, like, what do any of these people have to do with like a post-episode Q&A?
Wasn't that in between the 2 episodes? And didn't we leave before the second episode?
I thought they did the first 2 back-to-back.
I don't remember.
Yeah, I think they did like the first 2 as like a premiere style event or something.
Like one long episode.
But yeah, I mean, we did not hang around long afterwards because it's just like, yeah, this is pointless. This is just local bloggers, and God bless them. I mean, like, they got asked to show up to this media event, and they're like, sure, I'll promote my blog. But like, why would you do that? Like, it would be like there being a special fan screening preview of Captain America New World Order / Brave New World, and then like a Q&A afterwards, but the Q&A is like you and me. Like, we can talk about Captain America, but Jesus, I think anybody who shows up to that's like, oh, they're going to have Anthony Mackie, or oh, they're going to have the director, or oh, they're going to have, Sebastian Stan, somebody.
Sure.
But like, no, it's just like 2 local guys who had nothing to do with the production of this, who are just going to tell you about Captain America. Like, you can't just look it up on the internet.
I was asked very recently by a marketing company to host or to be the moderator for an interview with the author of the very recent Storm YA novel.
Sure.
And it would have been for Barnes & Noble out in Oak Brook.
Mm-hmm.
And it was very last minute. And I hadn't read the book. They're like, we'll send you a digital copy of the book.
Mm-hmm.
But it was also on a day we had an event.
Right.
And I also felt like, I'm not the guy to do this.
Yeah, you don't have a passion about it.
No, but also, like, I would want somebody with, I mean, sure, I own a comic book store,
mm-hmm.
and I've read Storm comics, for a very long time.
Sure, but you're not dialed into the YA book community. Correct.
And I also don't feel like I'm the right cultural representation for that character.
Yeah, I think something like that, I think it's okay for the moderator to be somebody who's knowledgeable, if not necessarily, or professional, certainly.
Yeah.
If not, somebody who's deeply ensconced in that, because I think the assumption is most moderators are people who are, they don't have a horse in this race. Do you know what I mean?
Sure.
Like their job is to facilitate a conversation between the author and the audience, not to be the authoritative voice.
I've never felt that I'm a good interviewer because I don't do any type of research.
That's bad.
Like David Harper kills himself with the research he does for all of his.
You have to.
His episodes.
Yeah,
sure.
You watch Hot Ones, right? I mean, occasionally.
Yeah.
What makes that show so good is that the staff there creates really interesting, thought-provoking questions.
Yeah.
So it's not just the same bullshit you see on every media event, press junket thing, and it's not like the low-hanging fruit of so Anthony Mackie, did you read any Captain America comics to get ready for this Captain America movie? Like, he's probably been asked 50 fucking times.
Sure.
Like, they get questions where it's like, oh, we're going to talk to Pedro Pascal about his high school drama class and people who went to his high school or something. So it's like, oh, this is super interesting.
Sure. One of the reasons I don't care about asking people the same questions is because, for the most part, my audience hasn't heard those answers.
Okay.
And it's okay to have that repeated if it's new information.
Sure. I think it's just interesting. I think it makes it more interesting for the people being asked questions.
Sure. No, I completely get it.
They're a little bit more engaged because they get to oh, I actually have to think about what this answer is going to be instead of
this soundbite that I've used 15 times already.
But I also like to let the natural progression of a conversation turn into questions.
Sure.
Like things I didn't have pre-planned ahead of time. Like, oh, let's drill into the narrative of that.
Yeah, and I think it's the best interviewers are the ones who have like signposts basically of like where they can go with a series of questions, where it's not essentially the difference between like submitting a bunch of questions for someone to answer via email and here's a few topics and ideas and things that I might want to explore, so that when we get to a place in the conversation, I can be like, oh, you're talking about your work at Marvel. Here's a thing that you did for Marvel that I want to talk about, or whatever. Like,
there was an episode a few years ago when you were out of town, and I'm like, oh, I'm going to talk to Will Moss, because Will Moss used to buy comics from me when he was in college.
Oh, nice.
And we have a personal relationship, so I leveraged that to get him on a podcast, and he doesn't usually do podcasts, but it wasn't so much an interview as a conversation. It's like, hey, we haven't interacted since you moved to New York. Let's go over your experiences doing that and the differences between the companies and blah, 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 or whatever. Right. But a lot of that, and again, I try to talk to people that I know to an extent or want to know more about.
Okay, sure.
And there's a lot of simple, basic questions that start things off, like, how'd you get into comics? Like, what were your first comics you remember reading? And while half of the people say it was the X-Men cartoon, still there's places to go. Anyway, we're not here to talk about me interviewing people.
What are we here to talk about?
We're here to basically say that people shouldn't feel like they're missing out on getting free things.
Yeah. While I don't love when speculator stuff happens for new comics, and I can frequently bemoan how quickly we'll run out of books for our regular customers because people know they can flip them for an additional 10 or 15 bucks online. It's worse when it's the freebie stuff, because it's like, now I'm not even making any money off of this. At least when someone comes in to buy a $4 comic that they know they can sell online for 15 bucks, I'm making, $4 cover price, $2 profit.
Sure.
But when it's like people calling up for some stupid giveaway thing, it's like, me taking this phone call is wasting my time. This is not helping me, because the people who come in for the free thing, the reason they're coming in is because they know they can sell it for money online, which means they're not going to come in and spend any money at your store, or that will dip into their profit. So when you're getting these phone calls for hot giveaway stuff, it's pointless. Absolutely pointless.
I have been pleasantly surprised by the number of people that have come in to find Waldo for the Wicker Park Bucktown Where's Waldo July initiative that happens every year.
Yeah.
Who are not regular customers who buy stuff.
Yeah. It certainly helps that like we have a large kids book section.
Yeah.
And it's kids coming into the Where's Waldo. So usually they'll look around, and then while they're here, it's like, well, look, we've got all these books. And it's Where's Waldo, and it's sponsored by Volume. So it's clearly a family that cares about books.
So here's the thing that I learned this year and would have known years ago if I'd ever paid attention or cared to look it up. This is a national thing.
Yes.
And it's also in multiple Chicago neighborhoods simultaneously.
I mean, I figured it would be. I knew it was a nationwide.
There's like
because the publisher does it. It's like Volumes.
There's literally one that's in Logan Square.
Yeah, Volumes is a store that's doing it in the Wicker Park area, but
I never realized how close neighborhoods can do it together.
Yeah, I guess so.
And it's definitely a scaled down thing this year, because it's, instead of a passport, it's a one page.
Yeah, like the Zdarsky Comic is.
Exactly. But the interactions with the people that come in are fun.
Yeah.
It's an automatic way to engage with somebody.
Absolutely.
And most of them have bought stuff, and that's unexpected.
Yeah.
Because we're jaded.
Yeah, that's probably a good way to describe our attitude towards everything.
Sure.
No, I always like participating in the Where's Waldo stuff because it's so easy for us to do it. It's very turnkey. We leave Waldo someplace. People come in with a passport. We don't have to pitch them on it. We don't have to explain it. They already got the passport someplace else. We have extras if people ask about it, but very few people are starting with challenges.
Right.
They've already gotten the passport. They're excited.
They're
doing the process. Yeah, and all you've got to do is, again, you engage with the customer a little bit. You engage with the parents, the kids, both. They find Waldo. You stamp the books. Maybe they buy stuff. Maybe they don't. But it's fun. It is a fun project to participate in.
Yeah. And volumes is all the work, and every year, like we usually give gift cards or something to be for a prize. Although I feel like we haven't done that yet this year.
Oh, okay.
But this year they're like, hey, we're going to be sending an intern around to drop everything off unless you want to come pick it up. I'm like, if you got an intern doing it, we'll definitely be a drop-off point.
Sure.
And it was one of the volumes owners who came by.
Nice.
And they came by, and the traffic was terrible, so I had to have Sam run out and grab the stuff from them. But yeah, that stuff is always kind of fun. Switching gears a little bit, I kind of think we didn't order nearly enough of the What If Donald Duck Wolverine book that comes out in 2 weeks.
We can always order a few more if you think we didn't.
I think we should order more.
Okay.
I think that we could have ordered double.
Jesus, really?
I mean, we don't have any of the Uncle Scrooge book left.
Yeah, but
and we ordered a lot higher on that.
I guess that seemed like more of an interesting project to me than this, but I don't care about either one of them, so that's fine.
I also feel that this has legs.
Okay.
That can sit on the shelf for a while.
Sure.
And if there's like a bunch left over, it can get moved to the #1 spot.
Okay. I mean, yeah, you can do an order after this for as many copies as you want.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't look up pre-orders to see what
they were not high.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I think it's and I think we could double rack it. We can put it in the spinner rack and sidekicks as well.
We could. There's stuff that I don't love putting stuff directly into the spinner rack if I think it can sell, because I don't think anyone really looks in there a whole lot.
Well, I said double rack it.
I was leading into something else, because like Powerpuff Girls that came out this week, basically is it's an all ages book. It's completely all ages. But I think the audience for that is mostly the nostalgia of adults, and they're not going to find it on the spinner rack in sidekicks. Like, it needs to be on the wall. Eventually, it could maybe move to sidekicks if we've got copies left over. But everyone who was buying it this week was, 20-something and older.
Sure.
And it was great, by the way. Powerpuff Girls #1. Very, very good.
Your favorite book of the week.
It honestly was, and I ordered, I think, 10 more copies on Wednesday night because Diamond still had them in stock. So if we are sold out of... We were sold out of the A cover by the end of the day Wednesday, and if we're sold out of the other ones, we will be getting more of the A cover in probably the last Tuesday of the month.
I also remember talking to you about it when it was announced, and you were not excited.
Yeah, and that's what made it so weird to read it, because it was perfectly executed, but it was perfectly executed of a thing that I did not care about. Like, I watched the Powerpuff Girls cartoons when they were first coming out. It wasn't
I never did. I have no nostalgia for it.
Yeah, it wasn't a passion of mine or anything, but I thought they were cute and fun. It was part of an era of Cartoon Network stuff where they were really creating some interesting stuff. So the idea of like Kelly Thompson and Paulina Ganuchew doing a Powerpuff Girls comic, even if it is perfectly executed, it's just like, I don't care about Powerpuff Girls. Who cares? But it's very, very good. It's just a good comic story.
Do you think this is opening the door to Dexter's Laboratory? Or
people have already asked me about that, if they're going to do more Cartoon Network stuff, and I'm like, if this keeps selling, yeah, probably.
Yeah, I'm sure. Depending on license fees and
Dynamite is definitely not a leave money on the table kind of company.
Yeah.
So yes, I believe they would. Yet another winner from Kelly Thompson at Dynamite. She did that Nancy Drew book.
Yeah.
I think Jen St. Ong, a million years ago, and that was fantastic.
You didn't even have to say from Dynamite. You could just say another winner from Kelly Thompson.
It really is, but I just wanted to mention that she has done previous work for Dynamite that does not feel like a Dynamite book at all.
Yeah.
And it's really good. It's weird that this is like following on the heels of like the Thundercats comic and like Space Ghost, because this is not those two things. This isn't like a reinterpretation of Thundercats or like a more Alex Toth version of Space Ghost. It's just a Powerpuff Girls comic. That's it, man. Like, they're not tweaking the formula. They're just executing the formula as well as they possibly can. It looks exactly like the cartoon. It's for the first issue, it's a really good done in one story. I don't know. Very weird that it's just like a really good Powerpuff Girls thing. No asterisk, no qualifier.
Hello, this is a brief interlude with not only myself, Patrick, but with
George,
my brother, and we are here to shamelessly shill for the Alzheimer's 5K that we are a part of coming up in September.
September 15th at North Central College in Naperville, Illinois.
We have literally just buried our parents, and we are making this plea now to remind you that we are raising money for Alzheimer's, And you can visit my page at rememberingfrancis.com. That's Francis spelled Frances, rememberingfrancis.com. And you can visit the team page at forfran.com. That's FOURFRAN.com. And George's own page.
Yeah, that's act.alz.org/go-to.
Yeah, just go to
forfran.
just go to forfran.com
And you can
scroll
pick me,
down.
yeah.
You can pick George. George, why are we doing this?
We're doing this to raise money for care, for awareness, and to find a cure. Because of the top 6 diseases in the country, this is the only one that has no survivor so far. We are looking for that first survivor.
But it's conceivable in our lifetime.
It could be. Some significant advances were made in the last year, and 2 new drugs came out. There had been, to this point, nothing that could slow the progression, and these have shown some very good progress in that. So it could happen in our lifetime.
And as you know, this is important to us because our mother passed away 4 years ago from this terrible disease. So we've been doing all we can since then. George especially, who's co-chair for this now.
Well, we've done away with the chair people, so I am just on the walk committee.
Oh, I see.
This is since 2019.
What does that mean for your responsibility load? Same. Yeah. So anyway, you can help us out by donating at rememberingfrancis.com or forfran.com, and we'd appreciate it.
Yes, very much so. Please, whatever you can give is acceptable. Thank you.
So not only is Kelly Thompson killing it in Powerpuff Girls,
Yes.
Birds of Prey,
Yes.
Scarlet,
Yes.
Black Cloak.
The Cull.
Well, Cull's on a break right now. We don't know how
I think
soon
so
he'll
is
come
Black
back.
Cloak.
But I mean, we've already ordered
We
the
have.
next several Black Cloaks. But the just announced
Yeah, today.
Absolute Wonder Woman,
Mhm.
drawn by
Hayden Sherman.
Hayden Sherman. And it's funny because the top of my notes, which the only words on my notes were Absolute DC ? Because we were going to talk about it last week, but didn't.
Yeah, I think last week it was still very much in the nascent, like, it's going to be an announcement really soon. It's the worst kept secret in comics. That they were pursuing an Ultimate style sub-universe for the DC books. And Scott Snyder is probably going to be spearheading it. The preview book that was going to be given out at San Diego Comic-Con was already in certain retailers' hands, which means it was already on Bleeding Cool. Names attached, but no projects yet. The rumor was Kelly Thompson was doing the Wonder Woman book, but now this week they finally started to release concrete information. It's leading with, in October, the All In special, not related to the Wembley show that AEW is doing. I think. Maybe it is. I don't know. I get a hell of a promotion if they do that. A lot of fans.
You know, there's been these vignettes of an upcoming wrestler. Maybe it's Darkseid.
Yeah, maybe Darkseid will be debuting on this week's Collision.
Yeah,
by the time you listen to this, you'll know if he debuted or not.
I bet that's Scott Free jumping through a boom tube.
Oh. Wow. So All In special by Josh Williamson and Scott Snyder with art by Daniel Sampere, I believe, and Wes Craig. It is a flip book that's going to be bridging the DC universe with the new Absolute universe and how that's created. Following on from that, they announced the first 3 books that'll be coming out. The first was Absolute Batman by Scott Snyder and Nick Dragotta. That was already teased. The Nick Dragotta drawing of the new Absolute Batman was one of the first pieces of art to leak out. I think it's probably the cover of the
Ashcan.
the promo thing that everyone's getting at San Diego. But then they also had images of Absolute Superman and Absolute Wonder Woman, but no creators announced. They announced the creators, I think, today. Absolute Superman is Jason Aaron and Rafa Sandoval. And like Patrick had said, Absolute Wonder Woman is Kelly Thompson and Hayden Sherman. There's a bunch of other creators on the roster of Absolute creators that have not been connected to books yet. Soon, I assume, they'll probably announce some other ones at San Diego, which is next week.
One of the key elements of Marvel's Ultimate Universe back in 2000 was that it was just a separate thing saying, what if Spider-Man debuted today?
Mm-hmm.
Even Boom's relaunch of Buffy was, what if Buffy debuted today?
Yeah.
And it was a separate self-contained thing that eventually drew parallels and tied into and merged with
once
the normal Marvel universe.
Once the continuity got too constraining and sales dropped too much, they pulled the lever that said, "How about a crossover?" So they did a big crossover, and then they ended that universe and folded everything in because the Ultimate books, like when the Ultimate books were selling more than the Marvel Universe books, keep them separate. Once the Ultimate books had dropped below the Marvel Universe books, and they had tried multiple different refreshes and restarts, and it was diminishing returns, they were like, all right, let's fold what we can into the regular Marvel Universe. Here's Miles Morales. We're going to find some way to do a Sam Jackson Nick Fury. The Ultimate aesthetic had already bled into the Marvel Universe because of the Ultimate aesthetic being what the MCU was, and then the Marvel comics needing to
follow suit,
look like
retroactively.
The MCU. So they took the backdoor in, and then it was decided, I guess, that we can restart the Ultimate line because it's been a number of years since they've been gone, and there's nostalgia for it, and the readers that grew up on those characters are now old enough to have disposable income and be the 20-something superhero fans that can go buy comics.
But they did, in this new Ultimate Universe, they've spun it out of the Marvel Universe.
Yeah, because Ultimate Invasion was the lead into that. Instead of just launching them as their own separate books with a new universe, it was specifically the story of the new Ultimate Universe is somebody stopped a universe from developing into the Marvel Universe like it was supposed to. And the result of that is the Marvel Universe happening all at once years later, way too late. And that's the Ultimate Universe. It's a little bit more like the current Ultimate line for Absolute DC to be something that is officially spinning out of the DC universe. It's not like a Earth One thing like they've done in the past where it's a separate universe, it's a separate continuity, or the All-Star books where that was a separate continuity, if it was a continuity at all.
I don't know that the All-Star books ever really interacted with each other.
No, but like All-Star Batman and Robin, and then All-Star Superman and All-Star Wonder Woman. All-Star Wonder Woman never came out. That was Wonder Woman Earth One. Those were separate continuities from the main line. This is, it is designed to be its own separate pocket continuity with ties to the main one, but not necessarily, anything more than the genesis of the event being how that is tied into the DC universe, and after that it's spun off on its own. The weird thing about the Absolute Universe relative to the Ultimate Universe is what made the Ultimate Universe interesting was that Marvel had one cohesive continuity that had been going for anywhere between the time 30-something years or 50-something years, depending on if you want to go back to FF1 or Marvel Comics #1 as the start of your continuity. With DC, it's weird to be doing Absolute DC because they've restarted their continuity so many times. That, like, just taking it from, like, New 52, it feels like you just did this. Like, New 52 came out 10 years ago? No. 13 years ago? And Rebirth was, like, 7 or 8 years ago?
9 years ago? 10 years
ago? Yeah, Absolute DC just, it doesn't feel fresh or vital or new or different despite not knowing anything about these characters or what direction the creators are going to take them in. Because I feel like we get brand new versions of Superman and Batman and Wonder Woman every few years in the main line anyway. So this might as well have just been 5G or whatever else that Dan Didio was going to do.
Right.
You know?
And we just did with that other...
Future State?
Yeah, kind of.
Which was like whatever 5G stuff they were planning on doing. John Kent Superman, Yara Flor Wonder Woman. I never remember, not Luke Fox, but like the other Fox kid Batman.
Who becomes Batman.
Yeah, but it wasn't Batwing. It was like the brother.
Yeah.
And I never remember that guy's name. No, I don't think that's right.
But it was a nickname like that.
Yeah, but he's gone now. I don't know where he is. They gave him a run for a little while, but it was just like, oh, he's the Batman of New York. What does that even mean?
The next Batman.
You have a superfluous Batman in a franchise, the Batman franchise, that does not lack for superfluous characters.
Not lack for Batmans.
Yeah, sometimes there's even 2 Nightwings. I hope the Absolute books are good. I hope people are excited about them. I certainly would love to read a Kelly Thompson Wonder Woman book.
it's hard to say what these are even going to be because there is specifically a special coming out in October that will explain all of this. I'm sure they'll give us some hints and clues, some buzzwords, some catchphrases, some log lines at San Diego.
If you look at Superman, just the Superman comic book, not action, just Superman.
Okay.
Batman, not detective, and we'll talk about detective in a minute.
Okay.
And Wonder Woman, currently right now, how they sell at Challengers.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that we can anticipate any of these absolute titles selling better on a monthly basis.
Well, certainly outside the window of the first 3 months.
Right.
They'll all do well to start with, at least the launch titles.
Like Kelly Thompson on Wonder Woman is going to do great for us.
Yeah.
But Tom King on Wonder Woman does really well for us as well.
Yeah. Absolute Batman is the one I think could outsell regular Batman right now. The Scott Snyder of it all, it'll be interesting to see what people think. He's been away from DC Comics for a little while. I don't know that his readership is where it would have been if this book had come out 3 years ago. He's done
a lot of creator-owned books, a lot of comicsology books that have little to no life on our shelves.
Yeah, it's
regardless of the quality.
Right, they're not speaking of quality, just speaking about like
Dark Spaces,
Canary, size of readership. I sometimes have to remind myself that he did a 3-issue miniseries with Greg Capullo called We Have Demons because no one buys that graphic novel. That thing might as well not exist. It might as well have never come out. I don't think, like, I get that Scott Snyder needed to step away from superheroes because he'd been so identified with them for so many years at DC that he probably felt creatively stifled, and reasonably so. The problem is
he was tied to Batman for so long, not even just the regular Batman book, but then his All-Star Batman run.
But stepping away kind of vanished him from the readership, in the same way that like when Donny Cates would do non-Marvel stuff, he might as well have never released it, or it might have been a completely different creator because none of his readership was following him from Marvel to those other books.
You remember what happened to his last creator and image book?
I think it vanished. Boop, boop, boop. So Scott Snyder coming back to do Batman, part of me is like, oh, it's another Scott Snyder Batman book, but that's been his biggest sales success, is doing Batman books. So maybe fans have hung around. Maybe people reading now remember his Batman titles and the metal and death metal books and are excited for him to come back. I've said it before, our sales for regular Chip Zdarsky Batman, as much as I love that book, not good, dropping all the time. It's very easy for a new, heavily promoted...
Not good compared to...
Batman sales.
Right, but really good compared to virtually anything else we sell.
Yeah, but I mean, that's apples and oranges at that point.
We don't sell apples and oranges.
Yeah, Batman definitely outsells Star Wars comics that we don't carry for the rack, yes. But it doesn't outsell Batman comic from 8 months ago, or 16 months ago, or 3 years ago. Which means they're going down, which is a bad comparison to make. So yeah, Absolute Batman probably could outsell regular Batman by issue 4 pretty quickly. Yeah. The other ones, Superman sells well, but it doesn't sell great. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, we've sold worse on Superman before than we are on the Josh Williamson stuff, but it's not a book that I would necessarily say is one of our highest selling monthly comic books. Tom King's Wonder Woman, I mean, it's selling 2 to 3 times what we were selling for previous creative teams of Wonder Woman. But again, not
selling Batman numbers.
Divorced of comparisons, it's not selling huge numbers.
Yeah.
And that's the weird thing for a lot of DC stuff. Like, there's health in the DC line for sure from us. We're selling more copies of Green Lantern and Green Arrow and Wonder Woman and Superman and Action Comics and a half dozen other books. But they were selling garbage for us 2 years ago. So selling adequately is not necessarily anything.
It's not a victory.
I wouldn't put that as a pull quote on the back of a graphic novel or send that out in investor reviews.
This is not selling like garbage.
It no longer sells like complete crap. We carry it for the rack now is not, again, something to hang your hat on.
Yeah. And we're starting to, like, Green Lantern is trending downward. Flash is definitely trending downward.
Flash for sure. Yeah, Flash very quickly was... just speaking subjectively for me, that's a book I got tired of. I was very excited about the first few issues and then was ironically, for the Flash,
It's not going anywhere.
Yeah, the stillness storyline is going on way too long.
Every issue just felt like it was very keen to make it as Swamp Thing as possible, and I'm like, you got to have some forward momentum on this book. Again, it's the Flash. A little bit of forward momentum isn't going to kill you. So yeah, I think a lot of people like me dropped it, and probably more dropped it when the art team changed, and they were like, "Oh, this is a good time to stop reading this." So we'll see how that affects some of the other books later this year as they start to switch over the creative teams.
So yeah, that's a big deal. They've announced more creative team changes upcoming. Dal had mentioned Superman. Josh Williamson is going to stay on as the writer, but Dan Mora is going to come on as artist.
Very exciting. I love Dan
great.
Mora.
I mean, Jamal Campbell's excellent on the book as well.
Yeah,
but
I wonder
it'd be
where
hard for
he's
us to
going to
do
land.
a monthly series. Although he did real well for a while.
Jamal Campbell?
Yeah.
I was honestly surprised to see him come back for this Absolute Power stuff because it felt like he had reached kind of an end stage of where he was going with that book. And if you're going to put a new artist on in like October, November, why bring your main artist back for another 3 issues? But like, cool. I love Jamal Campbell on that book. I think he's great.
And
it would not be surprising to see him land on a much bigger book. I'm not going to say Justice League because I don't know anything, but
sure,
I could see Justice League being where he lands. Although, honestly, I think at this point, Bruno Redondo.
For Justice League? Yeah.
I think he's your guy.
Surprised it wasn't Dan Mora, to be honest.
I don't know how the 2 books sell in the market.
I mean, hold on. There's no reason it can't be Dan Mora. He can do 2 books a month.
That's only a second book for him.
Yeah, he can do that.
Like, we don't even know that he's leaving Batman and Superman. Maybe.
I assume him taking over Superman means that the book is going weekly.
Yeah, exactly. Or daily. There's a few artists that are ending larger projects at DC that I would be interested to see where else they land, assuming they're staying at the company. I think we've mentioned before, and I know a bunch of retailers have recently complained about it in an ICV2 recap of 2023, that DC isn't publishing enough comic books, basically. There are main franchises that they do not currently have a book for, and I think Josh Williamson or Scott Snyder or both of them have said that a Justice League book will be coming out of the All-In special that comes out in October. So insane to think that we've had like a year of no, I think Dawn of DC, for the length of it, no Justice League comic book.
Yeah.
Maybe we should have a Justice League comic book.
The Titans was supposed to take that role, but all they've done is fight Titans villains.
They said that, but I think we always just misinterpreted that. Like, they said it as though the Titans are going to be the main team and they're going to be facing Justice League level threats. Instead, it was like they said that, but then they just fought like Brother Blood, Amanda Waller. Like,
yeah, but the Brother Blood storyline became Beast War, Beast
World,
which threatened the entire
sales of the DC universe. You're right,
and set Amanda Waller up for absolute power. So there you go. It was
immediately got a bunch of people to drop Titans.
A very exciting other change is Detective Comics gets a new creative team.
Yeah, Tom Taylor and Mikkel Yannon.
Yeah, happy on both those counts.
Yeah, pretty cool.
Batman is adding Carmine Di Giandomenico as a backup artist to spell.
Yeah, secondary artist, I guess I would say. Backup usually has a different connotation.
Okay. Spell Jorge Jimenez when he's taking a break.
Yeah, or
alternate storylines.
It sounds like they're also maybe increasing the frequency a little bit. Like I think they're doing like a bi-weekly thing or two in 1 month thing to kick off the new art team. So like they might do a thing where, it's that Amazing Spider-Man thing where it's got like 2 full-time artists because it comes out like 18 times a year.
After Gail Simone is done with Action Comics, it goes to Mark Waid for a month.
Mm-hmm. Who's I think doing a weekly thing.
Yeah. That ties into All In.
Yeah.
It's Mark Waid and
Clayton
Henry, and then the backups are Mariko Tamaki and
Skylar Patridge
doing a Supergirl story as well, also weekly because Action's weekly.
Mm-hmm.
So it looks like they're continuing with their Superman superstars for a while. Green Arrow has a new creative team.
Yeah,
Josh Williamson and Sean Izakaze leave.
Yeah, and also I guess Phil Hester.
Yeah,
he's done a bunch of issues for that. It's Chris Condon, who's one of the writers on That Texas Blood, and Montos, who's the current artist on Green Lantern War Journal, the John Stewart book.
We're guessing that John Stewart is in the Justice League. We're guessing from promo art we've seen, but that wasn't specifically Justice League themed, that the Justice League is Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, Martian Manhunter, Wally West Flash, Starfire, Zatanna, John Stewart Green Lantern, Booster Gold.
Yeah, those are the DC heroes that are shown on the Daniel Sampere cover for the All In special. It's like a flip cover thing where like the other one is the other side is the absolute characters. So those
Just
might
the 3 of them.
Yeah, those might just be in Darkseid, I think.
Darkseid is mirrored. It's the same art but flipped.
So it might just be those are the DC Universe characters that are appearing in that special, but it also might be the new Justice League team.
Yeah. All of them have been Justice Leaguers before, except Starfire.
I don't remember. I don't think she was on. No, I can't. Like, so there was the James Robinson era. Where Nightwing was leader. I think she might have been on the team.
And there was also that like
Donna Troy that was for sure.
Starfire was in the Scott Snyder stuff when they had like Baby Despero.
That was like the space team, though, wasn't
right?
It?
Yeah,
but it was the Justice League.
Yeah.
I can't remember what the name of that team was called.
Just like the Avengers, I think everybody in DC has been
pretty much
Ambush Bug, Etrigan. Well, Justice League Dark for sure.
Yeah, there was a period where I think it was when Brad Meltzer was taking over the book with Ed Benes, where I had thought they were going to lean into the Justice League Unlimited aesthetic that was, I think, current at the time or semi-current, and just made the Justice League like every hero in the DC universe, and it would just be different for each story. And I know writers have played with that idea before. Jason Aaron had done his Avengers stuff where each arc was a different, like, 7th member. Where like, oh, this is the vampire story,
so Blade is in.
So Blade's here, or this one is Doctor Strange for the first arc, and then he's gone from the team. But like doing that is more of an ongoing, Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, and then 4 other characters that could be anybody from the DC universe.
Yeah.
But I don't think anyone really wants to do that. They usually want a more cohesive team to build around subplots and stuff. And it certainly helps to have like Booster Gold, who's not in any other book, so you can do what you want with them.
Yeah, it's interesting to see that this has been being worked on for several years now, according to Scott Snyder, and it is a major initiative. And they're going to start like these books. Start the new Absolute Superman comes out in November.
Okay,
November 6th. So they're pretty quick to be coming out. I think All Out is the other one.
All Out is the second special that'll be coming out 2 weeks afterwards. Not on a Wednesday. They'll be coming out on a Thursday.
But it'll be printed in America as opposed to the other ones printed in the UK.
They're going to tell you everything about the All In special ahead of time because they want you to buy it, but then All Out will just be like, oh, this is just coming out a week later.
At what point will all the solicits for October? Yeah.
DC catalogs arrive this week.
Okay. So I wonder if All In is October if this stuff are coming out in November.
Probably.
So
I wouldn't be surprised if Absolute Batman came out very close to the release of All In.
Yeah. So this information might already be out before San Diego announcements hit, which would be this time next week.
Yeah, presumably. There's a chance that they want to save information. Like Scott Snyder and Josh Williamson already did like a video package for All In.
Yeah.
So like All In will definitely be in the new catalog because I think that's why they did it, because they know that'll be out there in the world before their panel. The Absolute books probably will not start coming out until like the beginning of November, so that way they can save that announcement for San Diego.
Yeah.
They could always do a thing where like they back solicit them, where it's like,
yeah, that's a bad move though.
And that's why I don't think they'll do it, because while you could preserve some of the surprise by just doing a classified page in the catalog and saying Absolute Batman, we're not going to tell you anything, or like maybe, again, a lot of speculation, you could, since you've announced the covers and creative teams for Absolute Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman, those could be in the catalog that everyone's getting this in the next few days.
I assume the foil covers will be.
But then they could just have like, story details to come, whatever, and then they talk about it at San Diego, and that way they can kind of have their cake and eat it too.
As a retailer, how many covers do you want Absolute Batman #1 to have?
I think it's better to ask how many am I going to carry, because how many do I want? I don't really care. I mean, they can make as many covers as they want. I'm not required to order any of them.
You can't say how many you're going to carry until you see them.
No, I usually have a good idea of how many covers I want for a rack.
Okay, but you just said want, so.
Well, that's what I mean. Like, I just want to clarify that I'm not going to be upset if I say I want 5 and they make 20. Fine, make 20. I'm only going to order 5. Like, it doesn't matter.
Okay.
Also 5.
How many minimum? That's what I meant to say, I guess. Not counting incentives.
There is no version of this where I want them to make more covers than they end up producing.
Sure.
That math is never going to happen.
What if they just did one cover?
Yeah,
they would never.
They would never, which is why it's not even fun to joke about it. Like, it's so preposterous. I think for X-Men #1 that we just got in from Marvel, they definitely, I think, did some more variants that we did not stock for the shelf, because I think we didn't stock the Scotty Young cover. It's like another cover that somebody ordered for pre-order and we just didn't get. But we did the main cover by Stegman. We did the negative variant by John Tyler Christopher, the Magic cover. We did the Psylocke cover by J. Scott Campbell. We did the Tony Daniel cover because a bunch of people ordered it. So I'm like, I guess there's demand. I don't understand it. And then we did the Peach Momoko variant. And then we did 2 of the incentive variants.
Earlier today, I was working on the Penguin Random House invoicing for 2 weeks from now.
Mm-hmm.
And I was struck by, from what I can tell,
Smooth criminal.
how many variant covers we're not getting for the shelf for things. Like,
Oh my
it looks
God.
to me like for X-Force #1, we only have 1 cover.
I might have done another one. Like, X-Men was easy because it's like, again, there was a lot of demand for certain covers. Like, we had a lot of people ordering. Like, Phoenix was the same way, where we had a bunch of people ordering the Momoko cover, the Aka cover, the Rose Besh, maybe. So it was like, oh, sure, we should get more for the shelf. I've said it a million times. That's how I usually determine what open order covers we get for the rack, is what pre-orders do we
of
have.
course. But when
we didn't get a lot of pre-orders because the other covers, and its X Factor was the same way, where I don't think the covers people saw, I don't think anybody was that excited about them. So most people just ordered the A cover, and then that's what I ordered.
So when I'm breaking down an invoice, I'm not looking up sales history or order history for each title. I go off of quantity.
Okay.
And I can usually tell by a number
Mm-hmm.
if it's for the rack or not. But lately you've been ordering less rack copies of some variant covers,
Mm-hmm.
which are like numbers that usually to me signify special orders. So it's harder to tell. So
Sure.
I'm guessing.
Sure.
When I'm doing my breakdown as to what I think is going to be on the shelf, I'm guessing based off quantity. But for all of the other X-Force covers, aside from the A cover,
Mm-hmm.
the quantities are 1 to 3.
Yeah, so probably none for the shelf.
Yeah.
Again, it's just a matter of if most of the covers had 0 orders, or like 1 or 2, it's like, I don't think anyone's going to want these off the shelf. I don't, like, the covers are not interesting enough. They're not by big enough artists. They're not featuring characters that people are going to be super excited about. Like, I think NYX had like a Laura Kinney cover. So I'm like, we had a bunch of pre-orders for that, and I think it's a great cover. So yes, I think that it's going to sell.
Sure.
But when it's like, I'm trying to think who's even on
An Angel cover for X Factor.
Exactly. Like by Ron Lim. Like, I don't think anyone's going to care. Like, this is not better than the A cover, and I would always rather, when the first week is done, have more copies of the A cover to sell, because that's always going to be more appealing to people to pick up. It's more dynamic. It usually sells the story better. Like, it's not a random character that they don't know that what this book is now.
When you look at our shelves for X-Men #1 and just see the purple J. Scott Campbell Psylocke cover, you just skip that book entirely.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But if we had the Ryan Stegman team cover, people would be like, oh, it's X-Men #1.
Right.
And certainly, like, when all we have left sometimes for Amazing Spider-Man is the Disney cover, it's just like, I wish I could send this back to Penguin Random House and switch it out for an A cover.
Yep.
Because this is not going to ever sell now. Like,
no, it's almost worth flipping it over just so it has
I've done that.
Yeah.
I was just about to say, I've done that a few times where I get tired of walking past a random Avengers homage cover that doesn't even say Spider-Man anywhere on it, and I just flip it around so it says Amazing Spider-Man 53 or whatever.
Yep.
Even if the background is just like a green repeated logo, because at least it literally says Amazing Spider-Man on it.
Do you think Disney fans who were initially excited for these covers now just are still happy to be getting them, or wish they were over?
Our pre-order numbers and our rack sales on them have consistently dropped. So I think most people, like anything from Marvel did too many of them.
Yeah.
They did.
Yep.
Like, at first it was really fun. I know the first couple, we had people who were not aware of them around FOC and were like desperate to get it on their pulls list. Now I think we have But yeah, we went from probably getting altogether like 12 or 15 copies to maybe now getting like 7 or 8.
Yeah.
And it's maybe 2 for the shelf because I don't want any on the racks after week 1.
Yeah, that's fair.
I don't.
That's absolutely fair. It's weird to me now the number of books we sell out of immediately on Wednesdays,
Yeah.
but the racks are still overcrowded.
Yeah, as the person who moves the books from the New This Week section to the main comics wall every Tuesday, it's very easy sometimes on Sundays and Mondays to look at the shelves and be like, oh my God, we sold out of everything. And then Tuesday morning, I'm like, we did not sell out of enough stuff.
Nope. Yeah. For real.
Yeah, I do a reorder.
Yes, the last 3 things I said were nope, yeah, for real.
Uh-huh. Sure
Who
enough.
said I'm a bad interviewer?
Sure enough. Appreciate you. Every Wednesday night, I usually look at the new release wall to see if there's any comic stuff that we want to restock. And that's kind of the only day I do it, because if we sell out of something Thursday, Friday, Saturday, if I come in Sunday and we don't have it, it's like, well,
Right.
it's sold as
It
much
did
as it
its
was going
job.
to sell. If we get it in, in 4 days, no one's going to care anymore. But Wednesday night, if we sell out of something in the first 8 hours, it's like, well, depending on the book, I may want to get that back in. If it's, something we only had 1 or 2 copies of and we sell out of it by the end of the day Wednesday, it's like, that's fine. I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
But if it was something we had 20 copies of, like, well, let's get a bunch more if they're still around.
It's that sweet science of ordering that we will never master.
No.
It's never going to happen. I'm almost 34 years into this, and I have no idea what's happening.
Time out real quick. This Baldwin, New York, this isn't necessarily like alarm company stuff, is it?
No, not from New York, but
Okay.
they also just called me and then called you.
Yeah.
So maybe we wrap this up and go figure that out, because they left a voicemail for me.
Okay.
Hey,
Oh,
sorry
thanks
for the
for-
abruptness.
hold
Thanks
on.
for listening. Okay, just to do a little postscript for anyone wondering from that abrupt exit, it's not uncommon for either of us to get phone calls while we're in the middle of recording.
Sure.
And if the phone is close enough to me, I just swipe up, like ignore it or whatever.
Sure.
For whatever reason, tonight, because, the podcastatorium is underground,
Mhm.
but there is high windows. So light comes in,
Mhm.
even though we're completely screened from the general public, because we don't want riffraff looking in.
Oh my God, the riff and the raft. Don't get me started on the riff.
So when we started, and since this window is west facing, and as the sun is getting lower, I thought it would be more atmospheric to not turn lights on.
Sure.
So we're recording this one in a naturally lit recording studio. Now, I understand what you're saying, that the fact that there's windows means it's not soundproof. Well, we want some natural light in here, okay? We're not monsters.
Right.
We're not cannibalistic human underground dwellers.
No,
We like to be able to have a little bit of light.
we do.
As such, when I would get notifications on my phone as we were recording this very episode, I also took my glasses off. So that's part 2.
Okay.
So I just saw their notifications, but I swiped them away. So the fact that a call went from me and then to Dal, that is in fact the order of the alarm company.
Yep.
And then it used to be my brother George was the third one,
Mhm.
but now I think, is it Molly? I'm not
I
sure.
think Molly is third.
Actually, I don't think Molly is third, because the alarm was going off at the store, the burglar alarm, and it was specifically an entryway alarm,
Yeah. Usually.
so a door sensor.
Yeah. Frequently, we'll get alerts from our alarm company about window sensors, and what that means almost every time is that somebody bumped into the window. There was a loud noise outside that shook the alarm sensor. Like, the alarm sensor for the windows will go off when we're setting up tables, because just the noise of the table going off makes the sensor think like something's happened to the window, because it vibrates the window enough. This wasn't that.
The one time the window went off because 4th of July, not this year, not last year, but the year before. Was it last year? I don't know. Year before, 2022. Somebody shattered the front window of the barbershop,
Mhm.
and that was enough of a noise to set off our window sensors.
Yes.
So it wasn't a window sensor, it was an actual door.
Yep.
But so the first thing, whatever the security alarm goes off, first thing I do is pull up the cameras to see what's happening.
Yeah.
And almost every time, I can't see anything wrong.
Right.
And not only that, I couldn't hear the alarm. Like a week ago, literally a week ago, one night we got middle of the night, I got a call from the alarm company. The window sensor's going off. So I pull up the camera. Can't see any problems. Now, once we got the call and somebody had in fact hit the window from outside with something and it cracked.
Mm-hmm.
But you can't see the crack on that window from the security cameras because it was where the back issues are,
right.
And those shades are always pulled.
Yes.
Because of the boxes right there. We don't have any sun damage.
Yeah.
So you can't see, but at any point it's like, well, nobody's in the store. And also, I think it is incredibly difficult to get in through one of our windows.
Yes.
Because
they're
they're 2 panes of glass you have to get through.
Right.
And there's like an inch gap between them.
Yep.
So you have to shatter not one but two. B, the vinyl decals make it much harder to shatter.
Yeah, because it's keeping the window together even if you're shattering it.
And they're at the bottom, so you have to get in higher.
Yep.
And 3, we have shatter-resistant coating.
Sure. And 4, we have a ton of stuff in those windows.
And yeah, a ton of stuff. So if anybody even was able to get in, stuff would be knocked over. I'd be able to see it immediately.
Yeah. Like, if you got one of the non-normal entryway doors to open up, all that's in front of you is gigantic bookcases full of very heavy books that are hard for us to move from the inside.
Yeah.
Good luck getting in.
Yeah, and that's from Sidekicks all the way to the southern end of the store.
Yeah.
So looking on the security camera, I can see nothing's there. But if the alarm's going off, I'll hear the alarm going off.
True.
When I just checked it now, the alarm wasn't going. It was armed. It's still armed.
Mm-hmm.
It's not going off. Well, it turns out that as we were recording a little bit earlier than we normally do, Molly Jane was closing up the store and somehow set off the alarm on her way out.
Yeah, we've got a theory, but we'll investigate it further when we get back to the store.
Because she was still in the vicinity, she heard the alarm, went back in, and turned it off.
Mm-hmm.
But the alarm company didn't call the store, which I think is always usually the first call.
I don't know if that's the case or not.
I've been in the store when they call.
Okay.
So they didn't call the store.
Maybe with a burglar alarm they don't. Because, I mean, the last thing you want is a burglar to somehow know the passphrase.
Yeah, but what if the phone scares them away?
Maybe. I don't know.
So anyway, no one called the store. They called me, and I didn't answer. Then they called you, and you didn't answer.
Right.
So they sent the police, and I'm fully expecting to get a phone call any second now from the police because they have our number as on record.
Uh-huh.
And
they want to know what's going on.
Like, if the alarm company can't get a hold of us, they send the police.
Yes.
So they're going to get there, see everything's fine, and report in that there's nothing wrong, and that we've also wasted their time. So we're going to get fined for this.
Yep. Happened before.
Yeah, we've been fined a few times over the years. And honestly, a fine is better than an actual break-in.
Yes. Oh my God.
But it's still
still money out of pocket.
Like $100 or $125 was the last fine.
Yeah.
Which wasn't recent. But so long as we can, like, normally, so I get a call from the alarm company, or actually I get a notification. Normally, here's the thing. Normally I get an alert from the alarm itself, the alarm app saying, hey, there's a problem.
Sure.
I didn't get that this time because I think Molly got to it first.
Maybe.
So when I get a alert from the alarm itself, I pull up the camera to see what's wrong. And usually while the cameras are logging in, the security company calls and I say, hold on, let me check the footage.
Right.
Then I can say, please don't send anybody. Everything's fine. If there's nothing wrong.
Right.
This was obviously not the case this time.
Nope.
Anyway, it was a very long way of saying that everything is fine. It was just an accident. And Molly's texting again. Sorry. So we didn't want to leave you hanging. Everything is fine. Again, thanks for listening.
Keep reading comics.
Don't break into any stores.
This has been Contest of Challengers. Thanks for listening. Keep reading comics. Challengers is located at 1845 Northwestern Avenue in the Bucktown neighborhood of Chicago. 773-278-0155. Keep up to date with new releases and events at challengerscomics.com. And help fund this podcast at patreon.com/challengers.